will prevail? Which new hero will emerge? This is your chance to find out. For complete TV listings, go to EmirateUSOpenSeries.com.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@WKOK.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Van Mitchell and Ben Reichley.
Good morning, everybody. And, hey, we got it right this morning. World's greatest producer. Thank you very much. That's Kevin Herr in the other room. This is On the Mark. And we're going to start off right away this morning with a special guest. Ben Reichley is here across from me, and we'll get into all kinds of things in a moment. But first, we'd like to tell you that On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company. You can find them on the web at www.sunburymotors.com. Check out their online specials. You know, you can build a Ford car or truck to your specifications. The Works Fuel Saver Package. Say that 10 times in a hurry. You'll find it down at Sunbury Motors. And if you're calling in, it's 1-800-795-9565, the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Groninger Insurance Agency is a full-service agency meeting all of your insurance needs, including home, auto, business, flood, and many other types of insurance. Lots more information at www.groningerinsurance.com. And if you're emailing, the Lenape Solar email basket is open. Lenape Solar, located at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury. You can call them at 286. Of course, don't forget to put the 570 first, 286-1496. And on the web at www.lenapesolar.com. And we'd ask you to use our phone number, our email, to talk to the man who's sitting over here. He is the guy who is going to try to unseat Tom Marino in the district that covers how many counties, Nick?
15 counties.
Okay, Nick Troiano, I don't have you loud enough. Let's try that again.
We have 15 counties in the 10th District of Pennsylvania.
Now I can hear you loud and clear. 15 counties in, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's in the 10th District of Pennsylvania, central and northeast part of the
All right,
state.
so it's a big district. It covers all the way up to the New York State border and all the way down this way, how far?
Perry, Mifflin, Juniata counties, and then out east where I'm from in Pike County.
Okay, and give us a little bit of your background. I used to say in the old days, tell me, who is Nick Troiano?
Right. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm a candidate for U.S. Congress from our district this year, running as a citizen-funded, independent candidate, because I think our country deserves a lot better than politics as usual. My background is I was born and raised in Dingman's Ferry, moved to Milford, Pennsylvania. Went to college at Georgetown University, where I got my master's degree in American government. And it wasn't long before or long after arriving in the nation's capital that I realized not just how broke our country is financially, but how broken our political system has become as well. And I want to get involved because I think a lot of the major issues that aren't being solved in our country nowadays will disproportionately burden young and future generations. And I think we have to fix our politics if our politics is going to fix any of these major issues.
And you have some ideas to do that. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on maybe 2 or 3 of your base feelings?
Sure. Well, I think the largest issue facing our country right now is our unsustainable budget and growing national debt. And since about 2009, I've been very involved in federal budget issues. I started an organization called the Can Kicks Back, which worked very closely with Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson, who co-chaired the National Fiscal Commission, and advocated for their bipartisan proposals of how to reduce our debt, which focused on restraining spending by cutting the waste that's in our budget, but also by reforming our major social insurance programs, by reforming our tax code in a way that can grow the economy and raise a bit more revenue, and by investing in areas of the budget, in education, infrastructure, and research that can help promote economic growth. That is what I think both parties need to get done by cooperating with each other, but they failed to do it on multiple occasions over the past few years.
Well, Nick, what do you think you can do to cooperate with? Now, you're an independent. I should have said that. You're an independent, not a Democrat, not a Republican. How can you get those two warring factions together?
Well, I decided to disaffiliate as a Republican and become an independent and to run for office and challenge Congressman Marino after the government shutdown in October. I think it sort of exemplified just how dysfunctional politics have become. And I think it's going to take many more independents being elected to our Congress in sufficient number to deny both parties a majority and to grow a new caucus from the center out that can bring the debate into discussion from where it is right now on the polar extremes of the political spectrum to where most Americans are in wanting principled compromise on the issues that matter so that we can actually solve problems. And I think I can be the first domino to fall in a long chain of more independent-minded leaders being elected.
Let me, Ben, I know you have some questions, but first let me promote our webcam. What you do is go to WKOK.com on your computer and click on the Mark, which is along the left-hand side. When you do, you're going to get a little box that has the triangle in it. Click it, and you'll get a commercial, and then you'll get pictures. Right there he is, Nick Troiano, on the screen at this very moment. And Ben, it's your turn. What would you like to ask this young man?
I would say if elected and you go to the House of Representatives, which is a large body of 435, being an independent, who would you caucus with?
It's a good question, and one that I've studied closely, both in talking to the parliamentarian of the U.S. House and of an independent who's currently serving in our U.S. Senate, which is Angus King. And both parties have put in place a system that forces their members to stay in line with them. So it'd be difficult but not impossible for an independent to operate within that environment without caucusing with the party. I can lobby the party in control for a committee assignment. I can advocate for my right to be heard on the issues on the floor of the House, but I don't have an interest in being co-opted by either side. My interest is serving the constituents to the best of my ability through my office if elected, and also trying to support and encourage more independents to run and be elected to our House of Representatives, because I think that's going to be one of the solutions to break the gridlock and the special interest corruption that's standing in the way of solving some of our nation's challenges today.
And that being said, you would caucus with nobody or somebody?
Correct. I have no plans to caucus with either party.
Okay. And then your goal would be to hopefully retain a seat long enough to get more independents elected. But in the reality of it, that's not only an uphill battle, that's sort of pushing a 500-pound boulder uphill.
Well, something needs to change, and I think right now in our country there are more people who identify as independent than there are who identify as Republican or Democrat. Why we haven't seen many more independents run and be elected is because of both parties have essentially rigged the system. For example, to get my name on the ballot in November, I have to collect 3.5 times more signatures than either the Democrat or Republican
and that's
candidate.
in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania.
But not in other states.
In other states it can be even worse.
Or better.
In some states better. But there's also closed primaries and partisan gerrymandering, so there are institutional obstacles in the way of independents succeeding. But I think the first time it happens in our House, it's going to lead to a lot more people running and being elected, because it's going to open our imagination to doing politics a bit differently.
Your background in politics, you gave us a little background in your education and so forth. Do you have a background in politics? Have you served on councils or whatever it may be?
My involvement and experience in politics extends to the organization that I co-founded 2 years ago, the Can't Kicks Back, which did a lot of advocacy work across the country. We were instrumental in getting a piece of legislation introduced in both houses of Congress called the Inform Act, which would disclose the true size and scope of our federal fiscal hole, because right now our national debt does not capture the long-term liabilities that we've overpromised and underfunded. That act has been endorsed by over 1,000 economists. So I've worked in the policymaking process and been able to I think, get something done that's pretty extraordinary in the introduction of this legislation. And if elected, I would certainly, hopefully, shepherd it through to become law.
In talking in your platforms and looking at your website, and you talk about political reform and environmental sustainability, social mobility, but the financial side. So looking at the way the federal budget's set up now, does it come out to 28% is discretionary spending, but the large pieces of the pie are already spoken for. How do you go back in and look at the military spending? How do you go back in and look at the Social Security and the entitlements and start to reform them, which a number of people have tried to take on? I remember elected Senator Rick Santorum from Pennsylvania looked at Social Security, and he became the son of the devil. I mean, that's how the political, you talk about knives come out. But so when you try to honestly look at doing some restructuring, what's your proposals?
Well, you have to be honest with the public about what the problem is and also about what it's going to take to solve it. So we know the Medicare and Social Security trust funds are going to run empty within a decade or two, respectively. And this, the CBO put out its long-term estimates this week that over the next 25 years, our debt to GDP will exceed 100% of our economy. The fastest growing part of the budget is just on interest on the debt, which buys us nothing. We're going to be spending less than ever before on the discretionary side of our budget, which includes all the investments in our future. So our current path is not sustainable. What we need to be able to do is couple tax and entitlement reform. Both parties have to give a little bit. I think Republicans have to come to the table and being willing to close a lot of the loopholes that benefit disproportionately the well-off and well-connected to raise a bit more revenue, and Democrats have to come to the table on making sensible long-term changes to our entitlement programs so that they're there and sustainably solvent for the next generation.
That sounds to me almost like political fairyland right now.
But
Do they think that can be accomplished?
It needs to be done by both sides coming together. It's not going to
I
be
hope
done.
so.
But both sides are on both sides of that issue. Republicans aren't looking for... Democrats have passed legislation that has allowed corporations to also be involved in that. Republicans have passed legislation that allows social programs to get out of control. So it's bipartisan when it comes to some of the stupidity that has gone on in Washington, and it's in a leadership vacuum that this gets caught up in. But what is there one thing with Social Security? Is there one thing with the tax code? Is there one thing in the military that you can point out with the organization that you set up?
Sure, I'll give a few examples. We're going to be releasing more detailed policy papers next month. But in Social Security, for example, right now the program is capturing a less percentage of national income than it has in the past. We can raise the taxable wage cap to capture more of that income, and that'll bring more revenue into the system.
Which is capped at $110,000 roughly right now?
Roughly around that. On tax reform, why do we give a mortgage interest deduction on your second home worth up to $1 million? I think that's
so
not
realtors can sell more homes.
That's something that I don't think we can continue to afford to do. On the discretionary side, I think I support a cut and invest commission that would be tasked with identifying where are the duplicative inefficient programs in the government, and having a commission identify these programs and put them all for an up or down vote every year before the Congress. The good ideas are out there. It's a matter of summoning the political will, which is why we need leaders who aren't beholden to the base of their party but can actually represent the people, and that's ultimately what my campaign is about.
Was Erskine Bowles, or is that the foundation to move where America should be moving? Now, I'm not saying 100% of their program, but they laid the foundation.
Indeed, I think the Simpson-Bowles Commission,
Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson,
provided the framework to get that done.
I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break here very quickly. We're talking with Nick Troiano, who is from, say that again?
Milford, Pennsylvania.
Milford, Pennsylvania. You gave several places that you've been. So Milford, Pennsylvania. And he is running against Tom Marino, who is now currently our man in the 10th. And we're going to find out more about Nick in just a moment, but we're going to take a break. This is On the Mark.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Hi, everybody. Steve Jones from the appropriately named Steve Jones Show. Today's Friday, Open Line Day. Look forward to it. Can't wait to talk to you later today. 3 to 5 Newsradio 1070 WKOK.
All right, we are back. We're talking with Nick Troiano. Nick is running against our current congressman, Tom Marino. And first, let me ask you, Nick, what the heck is Pac-Man Marino? I just started hearing about that. Explain it.
Sure. Well, we released a report this week that begins to connect the dots between the Special Interest Political Action Committees, or PACs, that are bankrolling the congressman's re-election campaign to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and connect the dots between the legislation that he's authored. And we've been able to trace over half the money from these PACs to organizations that would stand to directly benefit from the legislation that he's authored. And I think that this shows the corrupting influence of money in politics today, and something that I'm committed to addressing if elected, and one of the reasons why that my campaign is entirely citizen-funded, so I don't accept a dime from any PAC, lobbyist, corporation, or union, and won't in the future, because I think this influx of money in politics is holding our elected officials to the desires of their campaign contributors rather than the people. And I'll just give you one example of what we found. In 2012, the congressman introduced 7 bills to lift or suspend the tariffs on 7 obscure rare earth metals without really a public justification on why he introduced these bills. Well, it turns out that the National Electronic Manufacturers Association has 5 member companies that donated over $19,000 to the congressman's campaign. I think he has a lot of questions to answer, and the question that people ought to be asking is, who exactly is the congressman representing in Washington?
Ben, it's your turn.
I would, and that legislation was wrong. In reading that legislation, I think that was a fairly proactive economic development, and it was to protect, I believe, corporations that are using minerals here in the United States compared to outside influences. So was the legislation itself bad?
Well, I think there can be a debate over whether the legislation in question is good or bad, but I think it raises questions on people that when the congressman's introducing legislation at the same time taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from corporations and their PACs that stand to benefit from it, why is this legislation being written, and why is it being introduced? Is it in the best interest of our constituents or in the country's best favor? Or is this simply a way for the congressman to buy his way to re-election again?
You're talking perception, not necessarily that something's wrong, but the perception could be there.
And I think that's as poisonous to our democracy as the kind of bribery that used to exist, because it saps the trust in institution or the faith that we have in our governing institutions, and it lessens the civic participation that we're seeing in our democracy.
And PACs aren't illegal, but you're saying the actions that they do tend to be more of the past than it is. But in looking at some of these PACs, I mean, I'm seeing the National Roofing Contractors, I'm seeing Fertilizer Institute PAC, you have the Kidney Care Council PAC. I mean, to be in the business of politics today, if you aren't in a PAC, which is legal to do, then your message isn't getting out. And there are certainly PACs that are better at getting their messages out than PACs that aren't. But there's PACs on both sides of the aisle, and it's going to take a quote act of Congress to get rid of them. So are you saying Congressman Marino is influenced, his legislation is too influenced by PACs? Or are you saying all politicians' legislation is influenced by PACs?
This is a problem that is perfectly legal, it's demonstrably effective, and it's terrifyingly common on Capitol Hill. The congressman isn't alone in taking money from PACs. 2/3 of his fundraising in the last 2 months have come from political action committees and not from the people. So I think it just raises really important questions about why these organizations are giving money. It's because they expect a return on their investment, and then how beholden our elected officials have to remain to their campaign contributors. So I think we need to pass something called the American Anti-Corruption Act, which would limit the influence of special interests in our politics and would provide limited public financing for candidates who do not take any money from these groups.
I would think that the politics are so well funded by these groups that it would be, I think Ben said act of Congress, I think it would be an act of God to change it, because it's tremendously involved in our system, and the people who are going to be voting are the ones who are being supported by the PACs, and to get rid of them is going to be tough.
Well, here's how we can get rid of them. Support my campaign. I'm not taking a dime from any special interest. And votes, not dollars, are what decides our election. So if people are sick of the influence of money in politics, they ought to support candidates who completely distance themselves from these special interest groups.
Where are you going to be? I know you're on tour, and I figured you're what? London, France, Spain.
Right. Well,
where are you going to be?
This month we are on a Back to the Future tour of the 10th District, as we're calling it.
I love the car. I went out to see it.
Yeah, we're taking a DeLorean to all 15 counties across the district. The message is we have to get back to a politics that serves the people to save the future of our country. So today we're in Union County at the Country Cupboard from 11 to 1 p.m. Tomorrow we're in Snyder County at Rocco's Pizza from 12 to 1:30 p.m. The full tour schedule is on my website, nicktroiano.com. And we're doing these meet and greets for people to get to know me and the campaign a bit better and vice versa, and also for me to collect signatures to get my name on the ballot, because our signatures are due by the end of this month.
Because technically you're not on the ballot. So until you can get on the ballot, then you will be...
Correct. Yeah, we plan to turn in sufficient signatures to get my name on the ballot and give people an alternative option to politics as usual this year.
Let's say some people are listening right now and they'd like to get their signature on there. They're qualified to do so. How do they do that?
Come visit us while we're on tour. So
okay, they must be there in person.
In person. It has to be a name on a sheet that we'll collect.
Once again, the tour is?
The website?
No, the tour. The website, sure, that's where you'll find it.
Yeah.
But what out of your mouth is the tour?
Oh, it's the Back to the Future tour.
Right, and you're going to be today in Union County.
Yes, at the Country Cupboard, 11 to 1 p.m.
I kind of want to put this together with getting you some signatures.
Yes.
Is what I was thinking. So Country Cupboard today.
Yep.
And then?
Rocco's Pizza tomorrow.
Okay.
And then Pizza Town in Milton from 11:30 to 1:30 on Sunday.
Sounds like you like your food.
Oh, we do. So come share a meal and we'll get to know each other.
Your opposition, were you to get on the ballot, and it looks like you will, Tom Marino, has all kinds of things going for him. He's got legislation that people like and don't like. Tell me, how are you going to be so different, other than just the PAC money, from Tom?
Well, I think first it's how I'm running. If I'm elected, I'm not going to be beholden to either party or the special interest. Second, since I'll be representing all of the people, not just the base of one party, I'll have the freedom to work across the aisle to get things done that matter to the people of the 10th District, which I think is going to be focused on fixing our budget, growing our economy, and ensuring that we can protect our natural resources and be good stewards of our environment.
We remind you that Nick right now is on the webcam. A pretty good picture there. He's a young man. How old are you, Nick?
25 years old.
25 years old. So you're legally able to be a legislator.
That's right.
And you have a background that has been very political for the longest time. And what do you consider yourself? Kind of a moderate Republican, liberal Democrat, independent with liberal, and how do you do it if we had to put a label on you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been a moderate Republican in the past, fiscally conservative, socially moderate, but in general post-partisan. I think that these ideological trenches dug by both parties a half century ago no longer serve us, and I think there are good ideas on both sides that we can draw on to address those tough challenges facing our country, and we need to get past this partisanship that's gridlocking our country.
So then the Back to the 80s, or the Back to the Future movie, which was in the early 80s, and that was Michael J. Fox and the group there. So Biff won't be showing up anywhere, will he?
No plans of Biff showing up.
Okay.
If I see screech marks out in the parking lot, we're going to worry.
So back to the 80s, so is that encompassing some of the political policies back in the 80s then?
Well,
I believe Ronald Reagan came in and did the sort of turned America into the respect and the understanding of America. He would then have Tip O'Neill, Speaker of the House, then over to the White House to have a drink of a couple of rocks and some type of whiskey or bourbon. You know, they were having. Is that the type of attitude looking to cross the aisle?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just some of the good policies that we saw in the 80s, but how both parties worked together back in the 80s. 30 years ago, there were 344 members between the most liberal Republican and the most conservative Democrat. A lot of overlap in our Congress. Today, there are just 18. So that sort of center of our political spectrum has fallen out. And in the meantime, the cost of an election has increased by 150%, and the productivity of Congress has completely collapsed. So I think we do need to get back to the values that were instilled in our political system a few decades ago.
I know you have to get out of here at 9 o'clock, Nick, so we have about a minute left.
What do you mean? They're going to Lewisburg and they have a car that goes 200 miles an hour?
That's true.
If we're late, we just go back in time.
They could appear there tomorrow or
just
yesterday.
Don't go 88, because then you don't know where you're going to end up.
But would you kind of give your spiel again? Why should we vote for you and not Tom Marino?
Well, I think our country is at a crossroads. We need to change the way that our system of politics works in order to confront our large challenges, and that's going to require electing candidates who aren't beholden to their party or their campaign contributors, who can actually serve the people. Congressman Marino may have been well-intentioned when he went to Washington 4 years ago, but he's been absorbed into the establishment, and now is a time to change.
Thank you very much, Nick Triano, for coming down today in your great
Pleasure to be with you.
And Matt Ruth, thank you for bringing him here. That's good. And hey, all I say to every politician, good luck in the election. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
This is WKOK Sunbury. You are listening to On the Mark. We will be back right after 9 o'clock with a full open day.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedethani. Russian President Vladimir Putin is calling on both sides in Ukraine to accept a ceasefire and begin peace negotiations. Putin calls the downing of Malaysia Flight 17 yesterday an awful tragedy. If that plane was brought down by a Russian rebel SAM missile battery, as suspected, it may be hard to prove. CBS's David Martin tells us why.
The Ukrainian government says the launcher which fired the missile has been spotted moving back toward Russian territory, where presumably it would be beyond the reach of investigators.
CBS's Cammie McCormick has the latest from Kiev.
The crash has only heightened the war of words between Russia and Ukraine. The Ukrainian government is clearly pointing the finger of blame at Moscow, and Russia's foreign minister says he hasn't heard a truthful statement from Kiev in months. When international investigators do arrive here, they'll be navigating what is still considered a war zone, and the site has already been compromised by so many people combing the area looking for wreckage and bodies.
CBS News correspondent Peter Mayer is live with the latest from the White House.
And Frank, an administration official now confirms the FBI and the National Transportation Safety Board will send investigators to Ukraine. The White House is calling for an immediate, credible international investigation. It also said all evidence had to be safeguarded at the crash site, so there is concern over reports that black boxes have been removed from the scene. The president will hear the latest at his intel briefing within the hour.
298 lives were lost on Flight 17. CBS's Gary Nunn tells us about some of the victims.
Frank, the stepdaughter of Australian Kaylee Mann was on the plane. 4 months ago, her brother was on Malaysian Flight 370, which is still unaccounted for. Izzy Sim, her husband and baby, bumped from Flight 17 because of a lack of space yesterday, overwhelmed when she heard that the plane had gone down.
I feel like I've been given a second chance.
As many as 100 AIDS experts, scientists, doctors, researchers, including the head of the World AIDS Society on the flight, en route to International AIDS Conference in Australia.
Months ago, the FAA warned U.S. airlines not to fly through Ukrainian airspace, but foreign carriers kept using those routes to save time and fuel. Malaysia Airlines Vice President Hub Garter says what happened yesterday changes everything.
Along with other airlines, we are now flying a different route, trekking across different routes now and avoiding that particular point of airspace.
Malaysia Airlines says Flight 17 requested clearance to fly at 35,000 feet, but Ukrainian controllers kept it at 33,000. CBS News aviation consultant Mark Rosenker tells us that difference in altitude would not have made a difference. The war between Israel and Hamas fighters in Gaza is a ground war now. Israeli Army Colonel Peter Lerner says a variety of targets are fair game.
To strike the terrorist infrastructure, the rockets, the tunnels, the mechanisms that they are using to strike and attack Israel.
S&P futures are up 2.5 points ahead of the opening bell. This is CBS News.
Time. It's best found on the weekends and lost in the garage, under the hood, cranking on something. AdvanceAutoParts.com lets you get back to the garage with more time to do what you love. Just buy online and pick up in store 30 minutes later. Plus, order 4 NGK Iridium spark plugs and we'll give you a $10 advance gift card by mail. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Mail-in rebate, void where prohibited. See AdvanceAutoParts.com for details.
Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep because someone broke into her apartment and stole all her sheep, not to mention a 50-inch flat-screen TV. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency had helped her with renter's insurance, and she got full replacement. She has since trained her sheep to do voice impressions of various attack dogs, and now feels very safe. Visit Geico.com to see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
For a Southern California couple, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. CBS News correspondent Bill Whitney has their story.
In its third year of drought, the state of California has stepped up its efforts to get people to conserve water, even imposing stiff fines for wasting water. But a couple in Glendora, near Los Angeles, is threatened with a fine for not using enough. They cut back on lawn watering and got a notice from the city warning them to green up the grass or be fined up to $500. Glendora's city manager says the couple went too far. Their yard is so brown that neighbors complained the property might be abandoned. Bill Whitney, CBS News.
A wildfire that's burned at least 35 homes has turned tiny Pateros, Washington, into a ghost town. Officials say virtually all of the town's 650 residents have cleared out. A nearby hospital and 300 residents in another town also evacuated. County Sheriff Frank Rogers says the fire is the worst he's seen in 30 years on the job. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
I could either ignore it or face it. My child had trouble grasping math concepts. You don't want your kids to fail at math. You want them to have confidence and the skills to take them where their dreams are. Math Made Easy wants to make you an offer. They'll improve your student's grade by at least 1 full grade or your money back. Teachers can't slow the pace for each student. Math Made Easy can. For more than 20 years, Math Made Easy has been helping hundreds of thousands of students grasp challenging math concepts using a step-by-step approach. The affordable Math Made Easy programs help students visualize math concepts with engaging and dynamic lessons. Students learn at their own pace. Call 1-800-USA-MATH or visit mathmadeeasy.com. We offer a 30-day risk-free trial on all Math Made Easy programs. Why not use this summer to fill the gaps and get your student ready for the new school year? Turn frustration into achievement. Call 1-800-USA-MATH. 1-800-872-6284.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Van Mitchell and Ben Reichley.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and good morning, Ben. How are you this morning?
Good.
You've been traveling around a lot lately.
I have.
Gave me a chance to be here a couple of times. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank
had some
you.
business stuff that we had to take care of, and got to visit the nation's capital for a while, and
well, there's a thrill.
Got to see some of the beautiful back roads of Pennsylvania.
By the way, this is On the Mark, and Mark is on a, I'd say, very well-deserved vacation, though he calls it undeserved. Kevin says he can't understand why Mark gets a vacation at all, since Mark is always on vacation. But Kevin also took a vacation and came back all tanned and beautiful. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned business since 1915. 4th Street, Sunbury, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. You can find out more at www.sunburymotors.com. And don't forget, Sunbury Motors sells Fords, Hyundai, Kia, Lincoln Cars, premier service provider for all makes of cars and trucks. All sizes of trucks. They're a master towing service, so if you're a master, they'll tow you. They have decades of experience. Lenape, or Lempany, no, it's Lenape. Solar, that's our in-basket, On the Mark at WKOK.com. You will not only boost the value of your home, but see a significant return on your investment with solar energy. They invite you to harness the power of the sun for a better tomorrow. And their website is www.lenapesolar.com. And the Groninger Insurance toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. Write that down, and when you get your dander up and you want to call, that's the number to call, 1-800-795-9565. At the Groninger Insurance Company, they say, do you know if your insurance is at the right price? Let Groninger give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. And lots more information at www.groningerinsurance.com. Well, what are we talking about this morning, Ben? We got a lot going on. Yesterday, Joe and I were talking about the prison. We'll get started on that if you want to, or anything else. And if people call in from our lines, which would be the Groninger Insurance toll-free line, or write in on the Lenape email line. We would change any subject. We'll go to whatever you'd like to do. Right now, first in the headlines, the Lewisburg School Board will help to pay for a new left turn lane on William Penn Drive and Newman Road near the site of the new Lewisburg Area High School. Superintendent Dr. Mark DeRocco said after we build the high school traffic will increase the traffic enough in the morning that it will also constitute a need for a left turn lane. The board discussed that, and we want a good partner with Kelly Township. The board agreed to pay for up to 50% of the cost of that turning lane. The money is payable once construction is underway.
And it should have never became a story, because that should have been taken care of.
I'm surprised at that, too. It's a traffic study.
You pay, if you look at what the architects are paid, what engineers are paid, as you said, the traffic study of that, why this came up and why it was missed, it's unfortunate, because it's costing more money. It should have been in the, I don't say the initial, but it should have been somewhat part of the process. How you gonna get people in and out of your facility, whatever you're building? And if it was a private business, that would be, that's pretty much in the forefront of how you are going to do business, or get patrons to your business and back out safely.
Yeah, I think with any big project like this, every once in a while there's going to be a dangling end. This sounds like it might have been a dangling end.
Somebody was paid not to have dangling ends. They're a consultant of some sort. So, but this is where they're at now.
Jerry Sandusky's adopted son says hearing the first victim on the witness stand in the former Penn State coach's trial helped push him to come forward with his own allegations of abuse. Matthew Sandusky said in a Thursday broadcast of Oprah Prime that he recognized elements of his own abuse when he sat through the testimony by a young man described in court as victim 4. He says he wonders if it wouldn't have been easier to simply keep quiet. Matthew Sandusky now claims oral sex was part of the abuse, which contradicts what he told police investigators in 2012. He said Jerry Sandusky would tickle him, blow on his belly, and wrestle on the floor, and then encounters gradually became more sexual. That is a sad commentary. The Community Arts Center in Sunbury is one step closer to reality. Sunbury Revitalization Incorporated and the Albright Council are now the owners of the former Albright Church at 5th and Chestnut Streets in Sunbury. Co-chair of the council, John Shipman, said, "It's a gift from the Faith United Methodist Church, and we're very grateful to them and their conference for gifting this to the Albright Center and SRI." Shipman said the rest can be deducted from their federal income tax as a charitable donation. Bob Zimmerman is co-chairman of the Albright Council and says there's plenty of interest in the center already. Construction is expected to begin in the winter. That's an interesting story, too, Ben. It looks to me as though that's going to be a great center. It's a beautiful church.
You certainly hope it can be an asset for the community, and it sounds like there's a number of folks with diverse backgrounds and interest in making it a positive area for people to go, and certainly it's going to get promotion, and hopefully it will take off and be something that Sunbury can hang their hat on.
And I'll tell you that Sunbury is working hard to hang their hat on stuff, because being kind of constrained in size by the river and the hills around it, Sunbury can't grow outward too much, and manufacturing have somewhat deserted Sunbury, though it seems to be coming back. Business looks better in Sunbury, and part of it is because there are attractions. Let's say the new thing on at the river, the amphitheater on the river in Sunbury, brings people to town and they find out good stuff. The softball museum is in town. If I tried to list everything where you could go to find historical stuff, you'd have to go to Fort Augusta and the Hunter House and all over the place. All kinds of tourist attractions. Last night, kind of connected with Sunbury, I was at the Lookout up on Shikellamy Lookout. Friends of Shikellamy put on a great show. Had a problem because the food didn't show up. They got a traffic jam. I heard they might even have had an accident, not anything serious. But we finally got some food up there. PA Crude, the band, played, and I can't estimate a crowd, but it looked to me like at least 1 million people.
No wonder the food couldn't get there.
It was actually well over 100, maybe 200 people were there enjoying kind of a nice chilly. I say chilly because it was not humid. The sun was shining. It was a great night. A little breeze blowing. PA Crude playing in the amphitheater on the mountain. It was good.
Well, time will tell if Sunbury can make a comeback, and also, too, was a comeback. It's going to be hard for cities like Shamokin, Sunbury, Milton. It's an uphill battle because you have the competition of places like Danville, Lewisburg, Selinsgrove, Mifflinburg. So, we'll see what happens.
Well, and of course we have the new thing, which is, I have to look at it because it's kind of new to me, the Albright Church at 5th and Chestnut Street in Sunbury. It's the Albright Center and SRI who are developing that. Yesterday, Joe and I talked a lot about the Northumberland County Prison and politics in Northumberland County, and we've gotten several emails. One of them just got covered up by the picture there. Thank you. This comes from, this is not signed. I heard your broadcast yesterday over the radio, and Kim Best is correct. Kim Best is a defense attorney now in Northumberland County. A lot of the employees will tell you the same thing. I have heard stories from employees who are friends of mine that the man at the top likes to watch TV all day, and some of his favorite shows are Wheel of Fortune and the History Channel. I don't know who would care about that.
That sounds like a lot of politicians.
The man at the top also likes to take naps. So do I. Why would the man at the top need a TV in his office to begin with? He spells this. Mr. Clownsy knew about this a long time ago. The word is, as long as the man at the top does what he is told, everything will be okay. So there we go. That's a comment.
Well, going back to that email, I mean, Commissioner Clousey is being told by somebody else what to do.
Well, who's the man at the top? It's Bartley Clousey, and he's the one telling Warden Johnson how to run the place. I would suppose that's what he's talking about.
So this is the rub here was that the warden, didn't Commissioner Clousey and Commissioner Bridey vote to oust the warden?
Yeah, and the other two didn't. And it turned out to be 2-2, I think. So the warden stays.
The warden's not doing as this email says. Well,
well, that's the charge. I don't know that he's not doing what he's supposed to do.
Well,
but
somebody could be figuring out, because if people are voting for and against somebody in the situation, what's being done, what's not being done. But overall, the Northumberland County Prison probably should have been changed, reconstructed, moved 50 years ago. I mean, it's been outdated for so long. So could any warden really do the job that's needed? And also, parts of it is that you look at regional prisons. Are they a potential? Can other counties in Northumberland County coexist in a regional prison? Things haven't changed in Northumberland County from a standpoint what we've been talking about situations like this for the last 5 years, 6 years.
That's so true. Hi, Tony in Shamokin. How are you? Hello, Tony.
I'd be curious to find out who Vinny's taking orders from. Is it on Beto? I mean, who is it? I mean, what's the implication there?
Well, I don't think the implication is that he's taking orders. I think he's giving orders to Warden Johnson.
That's his job if you're the man at the top.
Yep, that's true. The commissioner should be giving the orders. But the letter that we read said, kind of implied, and maybe very unfairly so, that Vinny wasn't paying attention.
Well, Vinny, he gets a lot of shots.
Yeah.
And he's been elected twice by comfortable margins.
Yes, he has.
You have another Republican commissioner who does nothing but complain. I mean, I cannot think of one thing that Rich Schock, or Shook, or however you say his name, has done. He sits there like a lawyer, waits till the decision is made, then comes out and condemns it, complains about it.
Well,
Vinny has done a great job.
Okay.
He has saved the county money. You cannot deny that.
No,
certainly
Vinny Clousey, if you look at the pros and the cons, you can line them up and write them out. And I think saving money would need to be looked at in a number of ways, because there's also some cost to the county that the commissioner and some of the things have been involved. But certainly he has ruffled maybe some of the right and a little bit of the wrong feathers at ways, and that might not be a bad thing. But I will say this: his passion is there. Right, wrong, or indifferent, his passion is there, and as a leader, he steps up and leads. And sometimes that's going to rankle folks, and other times people will get behind. So I would say this: the folks who want to complain about him need to look at some of the positive things. The folks that want to back him need to look at some of the negative things. But overall, has Vinny Clousey been more positive for Northumberland County than negative?
Go ahead, Tony.
He said he was.
I'm sorry, lost you. Nope, we're losing you, Tony. Nope. Okay, I'm sorry, Tony. You really started blacking out there. I think you moved to Europe or something. It sounded like shortwave.
Coming around the Elysburg curve.
Going to take a break now, but first we'd like to tell you that you can see the show anytime on our YouTube channel. Visit WKOK.com for the link and to subscribe. And, of course, you can be watching right now live if you wish to, as nearly 7 billion people have a chance to do in the world. And it's not quite that number yet, but we're working toward it. So this is On the Mark. Going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Tanya Diddy. If you've been wondering how you can save money and the environment for the future, then all you have to do is look to the sun. Let Lenape Solar enlighten you. Lenape Solar installs residential and commercial solar systems, each custom designed to meet your individual needs. And we're committed to buy American products. Making an investment in a solar system today is much more affordable than it was 2 to 3 years ago. The payback is much quicker. You can trust the experts at Lenape Solar to help enlighten you to a brighter tomorrow, because we're committed to you and to our community. Call us at 286-1496 and start saving today.
Here's something to think about. How do you know if your insurance is the right price? Have you ever had your insurance reviewed? Do you remember when it was reviewed? And are you getting all the discounts you deserve? Let Groninger Insurance Agency give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. Give the Groninger Insurance Agency a call today at 570-473-8107. They're proud to represent the Erie Insurance Group. It's true, if you're not insured by Groninger Insurance, you're probably paying too much.
Appliances don't always keep humming along. Sometimes the washer won't spin, or the dishwasher stops mid-cycle. What do you do? Visit APW Sunbury. They carry all kinds of parts from small to large for every name and type of appliance. If you don't see it in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Save money and fix it yourself with APW in the Peters Appliance Building on Market Street, Sunbury. Show those appliances who's boss, because you're always covered with parts from APW.
Yeah, good bottom end there. What is that? What's that from, Kevin?
Phil Collins, Genesis.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Can't you tell by the drums it's Phil?
No. Sounded like my brother to me.
The only lead drummer in a band in the history.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
maybe
true.
maybe Ginger Baker.
Definitely Ginger Baker, I would think.
Where the drums were
the
centerpiece.
Yeah,
of the
drums
band.
were centerpiece with Cream.
But maybe. Shoot, the band.
I hardly ever.
You mean?
Well, Robbie Robertson was a guitar player. He just passed away last year.
Oh, come on. Yes, Ginger Baker.
No, Ginger Baker. Cream.
Nope, I'm sorry. Can't get it. I'll tell you what, being a disc jockey all those years, I know nothing about music because you always had to go get the news.
But Phil Collins was the centerpiece of course, his own band, but then Genesis, all of a sudden the drums became the viewing point. Everything else was on the side.
We had a guest earlier on, and Ben and I talked with a very interesting young man, Nick Troiano, who is from Milford, Pennsylvania, running against Tom Marino for the 10th District. And we have a email that came in concerning that. Campaign contributions should be outlawed. Imagine an election without commercials. I recommend we broadcast the views of each candidate equally. Otherwise, corruption will continue to rule our society.
It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just want to make the world day. Forget about the price tag.
That comes from Pretty Big Banger, Sunbury. So we thank you.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that, but also, too, I could see the folks, the management at Sunbury Broadcasting, thinking we're going to lose a lot of revenue. But
well, definitely the media has a lot of lobby power there because it is a very lucrative time of the year for most media, everything from newspapers to television to radio.
Well, the reality of politics is that it has grown. It's become more partisan. There's reasons for that. There's probably more negatives than positives in connection to some degree, but you look at the partisanship in politics, and it goes back into the 1800s, other countries, but even you see in our country, there's a cycle of politics, and what brings the country together, unfortunately, it's probably tragedies or necessary needs, protecting the country in regards to making sure it's solid and can move forward. But the political landscape has a lot of potholes and a lot of hills and valleys in it, and that's been from day one in this country.
Well, that's very true. Joe and I were talking yesterday, and I said, gee, I think one of the things that's kind of got politics mixed up is kind of a schism in the Republican Party, which usually hasn't been the case. I've always found that Republicans were from moderate to pretty conservative Republicans. It appears now that there are a few moderates, a lot of regular Republicans, and a fair amount of what are called Tea Partiers. And it's kind of a schism in there, and Joe said, no, it's not a schism, it's not a problem at all. I think I see a problem.
Well, as a liberal Democrat, you certainly would like to point out a problem with
no,
the
I'm thinking about politics, not liberal or conservative.
And it's the way, of course, the left parts of the media play the Republican Party, that they're disjointed. But when you have a party,
even Fox News says there's a schism, and they're not liberal.
I haven't heard the word schism used.
No, maybe
since,
not. I made that one up.
I was going to say, was it Tiger Woods who said something that he had a schism when he was putting, or he did something? But here, the scenario within a party finds itself, reinvents itself when they usually don't have the presidency. Democrats, I will say this, from analysis, I talked with a lot of folks with the Democratic side, the Democratic Party's pretty one-toned. It's monotone when you look at the policies, and if you don't back it, you're not involved. I would rather have a party that there's discussions, and the Tea Party, when people want to label it Tea Party, most of the people on the left who want to say Tea Party, the people within the Republican Party that I know, when Tea Party is taxed enough already, they're just more financially secure in understanding what needs to be done to have the liability for the country not to have the liability it has. So that's just more fiscal conservative than it is
well, that would be
Tea
you
Party.
then. Would you be a Tea Party? If there were such a thing?
I could. No, there isn't a Tea Party. That's the thing. People say a Tea Party. There's groups. Was it Tea Party Patriots and different names? But there's not a Tea Party. There's not a leader of.
I'll put an S
group.
there. Tea Parties.
Well, but there's not a leader. They're just groups that are promoting fiscal responsibility.
And you don't see a schism in the Republican Party.
Well, where is it?
I'd say between what I call a Tea Party and what other people call a Tea Party, and moderates.
No,
let's put it there.
No, it's not between that. If there is, there's more of the establishment Republicans who have pretty much sat there with their thumbs up their backsides and not done anything, or have gotten involved in some of the policies that have hurt the country fiscally, and but I think parties need to review themselves, go through and make changes. I mean, the Democratic Party certainly did that when Hillary Clinton in 2008 was supposed to be the next person running for president representing the Democratic Party, and she lost. So if we want to talk about a schism, there seemed to be a schism between the establishment Democrats, the Clinton group, and then a newcomer.
I'm not talking about
party.
the past. I'm talking about the future, because that's where we're going. Looking into the past will inform us, but looking into the future will help us.
Well, so was that a schism for the Democrats?
Oh, yeah.
That was the Democrats just reviewing themselves and remaking themselves to then get the presidency.
Okay.
But when you look at within the Republican Party, I think it's very positive that there's discussions, and Mitch McConnell is called on what he's doing, and John Boehner's called on what he's doing, and people are going to say, no, you're just not going to get a free ride. We're going to run against you. And Eric Cantor committed the cardinal sin of politics. He forgot about his constituents. He wanted to grab the brass ring and be Speaker of the House instead of taking care of his constituents.
Yeah,
and
he did kind of
forget.
Out. He did kind of forget.
But there's other sides. There's Democrats that have done that in the past.
Oh, sure.
But I think parties are stronger. Both parties are stronger when they reevaluate and can understand what needs to be done.
I've read the statistics, though. People are bailing out of the Republican Party and being independents, as Nick Troiano did, as Mark did, as many people have.
And Democrats aren't losing people to the independents?
I'm sure they are, but you're saying there's not a problem. I'm saying there is.
Oh, what is the problem?
That there's a schism, and
what is the problem besides the schism?
I think that the fact that government is locked up like an ice cube is a major problem, and I think a lot of that comes from the Republican Party not being able to agree with itself.
Who's in control of the Senate?
Who's in control of the Senate?
Yes.
It would be the Democrats.
Okay. Who's in control of the House? The Republicans.
That would be the Republicans.
So when Republicans send legislation to the Senate and it doesn't get voted on, or the Senate sends it over to legislation to the Republicans and it doesn't get voted on, that's both parties. So when you're telling me inside the Republican Party there's a problem?
I'm not telling you that. I'm asking you that. You're saying not.
I'm saying, and that's the promotion that particularly the left and people want to say is the Republicans.
Is everything right and left with you? How about thinking?
No.
How about just figuring it out politically?
I think it's been done, Than. So I'll take that comment from you. I'll just hold that. So I think more people.
I know
more people think than you give them credit
everything
for.
You talk about, though, is you liberals, the left wing.
No, it isn't. It's just like statistics. You blow out statistics and you have nothing in front of you. People bring stuff in and show statistics and say this is coming from that. Here's the point that the left media
See, here we go again. Can't we just say media?
Well, let's say the left-leaning media will say that there's a problem within the Republican Party, and that's why Boehner can't control his caucus. Well, I say that's a positive because, you know what, if the people are elected to go there and do, that said what they're going to do, and it doesn't agree with leadership, then you buck leadership when you need to. And I don't care which party that is. That should be positive. When's the last time the Democrats have bucked Harry Reid to do something that might be right?
More often than I like,
when?
But that's a whole other story. We have
Well, hold it, then. When has Harry Reid been bucked?
Ben, I can't remember an exact date.
What Democratic senator has got up and said, no, Harry Reid, you're wrong?
I don't know. And obviously...
And Mitch McConnell has been called on the carpet
by
guys like Ted Cruz, by Mike Lee.
He's got his head in the sand.
Who? Harry
McConnell.
Reid?
No, McConnell.
Why? And Harry Reid doesn't?
Oh, he may. Yes, we were talking about the Republicans.
Yes, but hold it, then. When's the last time a Democrat bucked their leadership? And you want to talk about the Republicans? I say when you just get in line behind your leadership and you just walk down the aisle, what type of, what are you doing for your constituents?
What do you do for compromise? How do you compromise? If you have this kind of an idea that you cannot, you must follow the leader, you have to compromise. If you have two or three groups, it's hard to compromise, I think.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's because the groups work against each other.
Well, why? Hold it. When you're saying compromise, first of all, what are you trying to compromise on? Are you trying to compromise on immigration legislation?
Yeah.
By tax legislation?
Yeah.
So then what are your constituents looking at? The immigration debacle that's going on has been going on with both parties, but the basic principle of it is not securing the borders and not having a legal immigration policy that makes sense and allows people to come to this country. So that has been both parties. Now, you have Democrats who want to bring people in because they can potentially vote. You have Republican groups that want to bring people in because they can potentially work for less wages. So you have groups on both sides of the immigration for, unfortunately, some of the wrong reasons. But the part about immigration, before you can get to immigration, you have to have control of the immigration process, and one of them is securing borders. Once that's done, then you can try to put a policy together that would benefit, hopefully, America, not a Democrat, not a Republican, not business, not other groups.
Well, see, I would think that maybe the Republicans, and I think that the guy from Florida, the Hispanic guy from Florida, whose name?
Senator Rubio.
Rubio. I think he tries to do it. I think that I think there should be some discussion about how we take care of the immigration problem. We haven't sealed the borders, and I contend...
Well, Harry Reid said they're sealed.
Well,
that was 2 days ago.
Yeah, I know. And do you think it's sealed?
Well, obviously, it's
I don't think it's sealed.
Whatever.
I don't care what Harry Reid said.
Well, his definition of sealed must be a lot different than most.
Well, actually, Obama is sending a lot more, is deporting a lot more people than George Bush did. They have a lot more border
debatable.
agents.
That's very debatable.
Okay, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4.
In what they. In how the definition of deportation.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. And
those, I think that was the email sent to you that certainly portrayed that it wasn't. These numbers are.
Well, it was an email sent to me. It was not something I necessarily agreed with.
Well, it was from a government. It was from a government agency, so you can see that. So, again, if you look at where the immigration policies have happened and not happened. You can look at both parties, but leadership means something. And right now, the leadership in the White House has not stepped up. The leadership in the Senate and the House is, they're twirling their thumbs. It's basically guys who aren't getting anything done and not showing leadership.
So it's every side having a problem.
Well, obviously, if the problem is where it's at today, nobody has stepped up to try to solve the problem. I will say, though, that there has been more of the conservative and the Republican side saying, you seal the borders, then we can look at going to that. And on the other side, the people will say, well, the borders are sealed. Well, obviously they're not.
Well, let's take a break.
Secured, let's say, not
secured.
Sealed. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a break. You are listening to On the Mark. Ben Reichley is across from me, businessman and Republican. I'm on this side of the mic, a helpless liberal and a leftist and probably can't think out loud. And over on the other side is Kevin Herr, who is helping me. I'm at the catbird seat, so everything that goes wrong, Kevin fixes before you even know about it. This program brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company. The Lenape solar email basket is open, and the Groninger Insurance toll-free line is open. And we'll take a break right now and be right back.
If there were an 83% chance of rain, you'd probably grab an umbrella. So if there was an 83% chance you'd have a problem with one of your vehicle's tires, what would you do?
Let the experts at your Ford dealer inspect your tires. You'll get up to $130 in mail-in rebates on select tires when you use the Ford Service credit card. Subject to credit approval. Rebate by prepaid debit card. Other tire manufacturer rebate or offer cannot be combined with Ford Service credit card rebate or offer. Data from Rubber Manufacturers Association. See your participating Ford dealer for details through 8/31/14.
When dinner sneaks up on me, the Walmart Deli and Coca-Cola have it covered with effortless meals. Like a market-side rotisserie chicken, potato salad, and deliciously refreshing 2-liter Coke for $9.50 or less. It goes well with...
Grandma!
And...
Mom, Tyler can come for dinner.
With a trip to the Walmart Deli, I can serve an effortless meal and hear the noise every mom dreams of. Boom. Nailed it!
Effortless meal includes 29-ounce rotisserie chicken, 2-pound side salad, and 2-liter Coke product. Tax deposit and CRV not included.
They just had one. Now they're having one again. Community Aid in Selinsgrove is having another huge sale. It's the Community Aid 8 Days of Summer Savings. The entire store is on sale now right through the 20th. Everything, including brand name clothing, household items, and more, is a full 50% off. But it's for 8 days only, so don't put it off. Once it's over, it's over. Plan your trip now to Community Aid's biggest and longest sale ever. The Community Aid 8 Days of Summer Savings. Now through the 20th at 1070 Susquehanna Trail, Selinsgrove. Neighbors helping neighbors. Venture back in time to after Gettysburg at the 2014 Iron Heritage Festival, now through Sunday in downtown Danville. Today at 6, James Getty presents the Gettysburg Address. The parade steps off at 7 with the American Legion Honor Guard, Abraham Lincoln, the Confederation of Union Generals, and their ladies, too. Other events include visiting an actual working ice house, tours of the Ekman House, Iron Heritage hike and train, wagon, and carriage rides. For a full schedule, visit ironheritagefestival.net.
Make this summer's family vacation one they'll remember for years when you discover all the great things to do in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Like biking country roads or horseback rides. Ice cream cones are the perfect way to cool down before the lights go out and a ghost tour begins. Even history is fun when you grab a selfie with President Lincoln on the iPad tour. Choose a comfortable hotel or cozy bed and breakfast because they'll want to stay, and so will you. Plan today at DestinationGettysburg.com. And you thought we were just history.
No more hurt.
No more fear.
No more silence and shame.
13 million people are physically abused, raped, or stalked by their partners each year.
No more jokes.
No more laughing.
No more disrespect.
There's nothing funny about domestic violence and sexual assault.
No more feeling powerless to stop it.
No more being uncomfortable and afraid to speak up.
No more waiting for someone else to do it first.
It's time to say no more. Tell everyone you know. Together, we can end domestic violence and sexual assault. A message from the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape. Learn more at pcard.org.
Hi, everybody. Steve Jones from the appropriately named Steve Jones Show. Today's Friday, Open Line Day. Look forward to it. Can't wait to talk to you later today. 3 to 5 News Radio 1070 WKOK.
'Cause we can't see eye to eye. There ain't no good guy. There ain't no bad guy. There's only you and me.
We disagree.
Little Dave Mason?
Yeah. We have, this is On the Mark. Ben Reichley is here on Fan Mitchell, and we have an email that says, I agree with Ben. We need more parties. Comes from Caitlin. Tea Party, Country Club Republicans, Libertarians, Greens, Democrats, Socialists, etc.
What are Country Club Republicans?
Let's move to a parliamentary system and force coalitions to work together. And thank you, Caitlin. That's interesting.
Forgot the Communist Party in there, too.
Well, all parties.
Hey, since I'm a Republican, does that automatically make me a country club member?
No.
I'd like to play some golf.
I was going to say to Ben when he said, what is a country club Republican? When you're playing golf this afternoon, look around at the people you're playing golf with.
I will be in the office. And
okay.
And again, that's the stereotypes. It's interesting that the people who are supposed to be so tolerant use the stereotypes then to try to define people.
Oh, I have offended you. I'm sorry to say that you are a golfer.
No, we're just saying that.
Oh,
interesting to use that when shouldn't have been, if you're going to use these terms, shouldn't you use then a term for each group? We could say tax and spend Democrats.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, we could say
progressive socialists.
When does my country club membership come in the mail?
Isn't that part of your perk here?
Let's go to Union County and Dan. Hello there, Dan. How are you?
I'm fine. And you guys?
Very good. Thank you.
Sounds very good on the radio. I just wanted to comment on the conversation you guys were just having a minute or so ago.
Okay.
My good liberal friend Van, I think what's happening is you're really crying out inside to become a strong conservative. I think that's really what you want to do. You're just afraid to take that step. But go ahead. The water's good over here. Come on over. Check it out.
No. I may be old, but my brain has not calcified yet, so I can't do that.
I respect your brain, my liberal friend, but I just have to comment. I don't know how you could say that your partner brought up the point about the government not doing anything, and you quickly looked at the House, and your comments were that, well, the Republican Party is falling apart. Well, I don't think it's falling apart, and I do agree with your partner that it is good to have a mix of different people and different opinions.
Oh, I agree with Ben. It's Ben Reichley who's my partner.
I know you do. I heard you say that. I know that. I liken you to my mother, God rest her soul. She was a Democrat probably from the day she was born till the day she died. Committee woman, the whole thing. There was nothing but the Democratic Party. Now, you could talk to her, and you could explain things to her, and she'd go, well, I agree with that. Well, yeah, I agree with that. And they were strong conservative values. But the bottom line was she wouldn't vote for a Republican. No, her ideology was Democrats are for the poor people and Republicans are for the rich people. She lived with that all her life. She wasn't a liberal by any means, but she was a party person. And I tend to think that's what you might be. And I think I made this comment to you guys, because I've been calling you off and on for a couple of years, that I believe Democrats, per se, first of all, the Democratic Party that my mother believed in, that FDR Democratic Party, that JFK Democratic Party, that no longer exists. And I believe it's been taken over, and many people believe it's been taken over by the far left of the party, completely. And people will not go. I'll give Democrats this. They will stick together, hold their nose, and vote for the party despite what they stand for, because they have this, whatever it is embedded in them. They're not willing to say, well, no, wait a minute. I think I agree with this now, but I can't go against the party. That was my mother, and I think that's what you are.
So you think that Democrats just don't know what they're talking about and are actually Republicans?
No, not at all. That's not what I said.
Okay.
I said, I believe you're like my mother. I could have conversations with her and explain things to her. When I brought up Ronald Reagan, well, she would go ballistic. He's nothing but an actor, blah, 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 whatever, which is neither here nor there. But different things I would say to her and not tell them whose ideas they were until she, I agree with that. And I would say, well, this came from Ronald Reagan, or this came from this guy or that guy, who were strong conservatives. And if they were Republicans behind it, forget it. Immediately what she believed in, all of a sudden she didn't care about. And I kind of believe you that way, because if it violated what the party stood for, or her party stood for, and I think maybe that's what you think the party stands for, but it doesn't anymore. I was a Democrat for years, and I left the party because I saw it being taken over by liberalism. And in my opinion, and many, many other people's opinion, liberalism is the ruination not just of this nation, but the world.
Yeah, I think that Ben agrees with you on that.
It's ruined religion. You have liberal religion. Well, that's not good. You have liberal laws. You don't enforce the laws. Look where our nation's gone because of liberalism. Look where the world's gone because of liberalism.
What exactly? Elaborate on where the country has gone because of liberalism. A problem with the country.
I believe liberalism is what you kind of do what you want to do. Yeah, you sort of follow the law, and you sort of believe a little of this and a little of that, but you don't really stand for anything in particular, nothing concrete other than what the party kind of says. And right now, the party that's in control, that happen to be Democrats, are the far-leaning left. They're the far-leaning left. And that's not any good, nor would it be any good if the far right of the Republican Party was in control. We need to be in the middle somewhere. There are good conservative Democrats. There are, I'll call them liberal Republicans, who could meet in the middle, like you say. So, see, I do agree with some of the things you say that could meet in the middle, like the young guy you had on earlier, the guy that's running for Congress, or trying to. There is a middle road that we can take. But I think I'd rather lean more right than left, because the party that you believed in, or believe in, that I think my mother believed in, doesn't exist anymore in the Democrats. But yet you will still hold your nose and vote for those kind of guys and put them in, and then wonder why things don't get better, and then blame the opposition for it. Okay. So when the opposition, being the Republican Party, fights within itself because there are good, strong conservatives who don't like the liberal-leaning left of the Republicans because it's liberal, then all of a sudden we're a problem, and Democrats don't see that. And I don't understand why you can't see that on your side of the aisle when we can see it on our side of the aisle and say, well, it's a good thing.
Okay.
That puzzles me.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate your opinion.
Thanks for your time, guys. Have a good day.
Well, let me tell you why I'm a Democrat, Ben. It's because you can vote in the primaries in Pennsylvania. I'm not a Democrat because I believe everything they do. I wouldn't be a Republican because they believe everything they do. I would be an independent, but I want to vote in the spring. So I am an independent who must register Democrat. And let me tell you, Dan, I do my own thinking. I vote for Republicans quite often. Now, oftentimes, recently, the Republicans have been, in my estimation, a little too far to the right. I haven't voted many times for Republicans recently, although a couple of district attorneys and so forth I have. So I just wanted to let him know that I am not a non-thinking Democrat, nor I'll bet his mother wasn't either.
Well, but the point he makes is that the Roosevelt and JFK Democratic Party, does that exist in today's world? Probably not. from a standpoint of, again, the perception as he used is Democrats are for poor people, middle class. Republicans are only for rich people, and I think that has swung around in some degree. But one of the things we look at is the social programs, primarily Democratic, but Republicans are involved in this too. The social programs that have hurt more than helped, and
it depends on who you say it hurt. It
well,
helps
no.
It helped poor people.
When I say that, well, to a degree, but it also has made people so dependent on the government. When generations are on these programs, the programs that didn't bring people up, they've held people back. Now, they've helped them initially, but then they've plateaued them. So where do you start looking at saying, okay, how do we reinvent our military? How do we look at the spending on social? How do we make programs that were enacted sustainable? And right now, you look at entitlements and heavily Democratic from a voting standpoint. The people that are on that. Now, it's not 100% by any means, but again, when you're going to have an entitlement country, you're going to become the model of Europe in that socialist type model.
So you believe in that welfare queen in a Cadillac idea that nobody's ever been able to prove is true,
no,
but you feel
proved,
that welfare is causing...
It's been proved. It's been proved. You tell me, you look at when generations of certain groups are on welfare, there's a problem with the welfare system. It should bring people out and give them opportunities, not hold them back and plateau them. And that can be looked at on both parties doing that. So we haven't done justice to certain groups, but I understand what the caller's saying. He talks about the Roosevelt or JFK Democrats, but in those degrees, I think you also saw it turning in the Republican Party in the 70s into the 80s, and it became a different type of attitude towards the workers and towards the ability for the country to lead itself. And Ronald Reagan did a lot of positive things for the country in its ability for the country to understand that you can succeed and you can move forward. That wasn't a Republican thing. That was an American thing. Well, right now there seems to be a wet blanket on America from a standpoint that how we look at ourselves and how we feel about ourselves, and the polls are showing that. And we're a nation of people who succeed. We're not a nation of people who step back. I mean, the United States has been a leader in the world, and now we're supposed to lead from behind.
Hi, David. How are you this morning?
Good. I trust that most thinking Americans realize that neither party has a monopoly on competence, incompetence, so forth, goodness, badness, or whatever. But I guess I would like to ask, do we have a socialized agricultural system?
To a degree, yes, and it's both parties that contribute to that, and it's a system that again was put in. I think it was Agricultural Secretary. It was Earl Butz in 1970, in the early 70s, Nixon administration. I mean, it was a program that on paper looked very positive, but the implementation and the workings of it and the manipulation of politicians over the years has gotten out of control. And if you look at the Farm Bill, how much of the stuff really is involved with agriculture?
Yeah. I'd like to see a ceiling put on, like no more than 25 or 50,000 a year to any corporation, be it or really any farm, and they should be family farms, not corporate farms. A cap like that would be very helpful in the interest of taxpayers, and I think in the interest of family farming.
Okay, all right.
No, and there's something to be said.
Sounds like
for
we
that.
all agree. Good.
And it is. Believe me. There's. You look at the Farm Bill, and you can. Everybody has put their fingers in the pie, and the pie now just is so convoluted that it's hard to make sense of it.
I think that's a fair statement. Gentlemen, take care.
Thank you very much, David. And we're going to take our last break right now. And we have an email that says, "I'm sorry I offended Ben." So we will read that when we come back. You're listening to On the Mark, brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company on WKOK.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com. Appliances don't always keep humming along. Sometimes the washer won't spin, or the dishwasher stops mid-cycle. What do you do? Visit APW Sunbury. They carry all kinds of parts from small to large for every name and type of appliance. If you don't see it in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Save money and fix it yourself with APW in the Peters Appliance Building on Market Street, Sunbury. Show those appliances who's boss, because you're always covered with parts from APW.
Want to do lunch? Fast food again? Nope, better. Chestnut Street Deli. Fresh made soup, sandwiches piled high, and made with all the fixings you want. If you want to be a good boy, their salads are amazing, and they serve breakfast all day. Food is served fast, but it's better than fast food. I drive, you buy.
From fresh, mouth-watering wraps, loaded deli sandwiches, homemade soups, and more, lunch is served at Chestnut Street Deli, 550 Chestnut Street, Sunbury. They cater to you. Call 988-2230. Like them on Facebook.
Hi, I'm Megan from Selinsgrove. And even though I'm 10, I know the #1 cause of car crashes in the U.S. is distracted driving. Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation and Selinsgrove Ford want you to eliminate the distractions in your vehicle. Secure your passengers and equipment. Turn down the music and turn off the cell phone. This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including Newsradio 1070, WKOK, and Selinsgrove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
Hey, 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 we're my party people.
My idea of a party person is a whole lot different from that.
Did we find the drummer for the band yet? I feel bad. I can remember Robbie Robertson and you know, some of the. I'm thinking
Kevin will get that for us. The drummer for the band
just
Kevin.
Passed away last year.
We do have an email here as we're getting very close. How did the time go by so fast?
Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's right.
Helm.
Helm. Okay.
Helm was the drummer.
Helm. So when you think of the drummer for those guys, think of go to Helm.
Levon?
Levon Helm.
I couldn't remember how it was pronounced.
I'm sorry that I offended Ben is our email.
Oh, okay.
Country club Republicans have higher than average income or wealth, fiscally conservative, and have liberal views on social issues such as abortion, gay rights, and to be more likely to have attended prestigious colleges than most other Republican Party members. I'm not sure I think that applies to Kevin. Sorry, Kevin.
I'm not sure how to take that.
But the point was that in a two-party system, there's not much room for differences. Currently, if you support low taxes, you're forced to join the guys who want to force women to stop using birth control, and that comes from Caitlin. Thank you for straightening that out. I didn't think you insulted anybody.
Who are the guys trying to force women to stop using birth control?
Well, I call it Hobby Lobby and Conestoga among two, and the Supreme Court justices, 5 out of the 9.
Oh, so you're referring to the part of the bill that wasn't passed by Congress and was put in by HSS later. with the
I'm
20 birth
talking
controls.
talking about the attack on women, and we are out of time.
So much for my golf club membership.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening this week. Mark will be back on Monday. Ben will be back on Monday.
And we'll get Kevin that membership at Cherokee Golf Course, Kevin. Be there this afternoon.
This is WKOK. You have been listening to On the Mark. Join us on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.